Hey there, everyone. So it is a Wednesday evening, and that's when you usually catch me out in the dark, gardening. Um, I've been pretty much gardening on and off all day. I had the opportunity to work a little bit on the chicken tractor area that we're working with, and turn over that soil, just to kind of get a better idea of what we're dealing with. And this ground in the backyard has never been, well, it hasn't been turned in 50 years. So it's very traditional backyard clay, black gumbo is what they call it down here, soil. It will actually, once it's broken back up and given back life again and moved around, it will actually we will find that there's probably a lot of life in the soil. It's just been so compacted for so long that it's become almost just a hard concrete out here. So I was helping the chicks out today by really getting in there and getting that stuff really turned over. Brought some of the compost in from the compost bin in to add to it. It's going to take some time for us to get through that process. But then once we get those beds turned over for the first time, that's the thing that I'm talking to a lot of people about gardening. The way that we're gardening now and the way that we're working to develop intense gardening and backyard permaculture and things like that is putting us in a situation where we work really hard to get it established, and then once we get it established, then the forward progression isn't working as hard as we've had. It's not having to turn the dirt over every single season. It's not having to go back in and re-pull all of those weeds again and start all over again, or spray that poison, or whatever it is. It's creating a situation that makes it easier on you. And so eventually those beds will be very easy for the chickens to get in there and play and turn, and for us to move around. But in these initial stages, we're going to really have to help them out and really get that. But even still, I can go over there and point it out to you, but it's still just really hard clay, and but it's not a hard process to get that turned with a simple spade fork. I'm just picking the dirt up and moving it around and then letting them get in there and mess with it. So that was a big part of my gardening efforts today, but I also wanted to show you something I was pretty excited about. So yesterday when I came out in the evening, I noticed from the morning until the evening that my arugula had begun to sprout. Well, today I was out in the garden pretty much all day, around the chickens and all of that, and I was taking close look of my plants, and a lot of them hadn't started seeding yet. But I'm about to show you that I came home tonight, and before I started this video, I went to check it out, and I've got tiny little sprouts coming out. So come on, let's go check it out. Okay, so this is an area that I'm beginning to work in, and really starting to put a lot of, beginning to mostly understand this time of year, October, South Texas, Zone 9B, what are we dealing with, right? And so I'm getting things in the right spaces and understanding the warmth. Now this is my butter crunch lettuce, and look right there. You see? That literally happened in the last few hours of the day. They sprouted. So this whole sheet right here is going to be covered with young lettuce, and during this time of year, I'm actually going to cut those greens really young. Because in South Texas, it's a real challenge to grow lettuce because it's so warm down here. And October, we're going to have those cool snaps. And it's always possible that we could have a soft frost of some kind, but the idea of having a hard freeze that's going to cause any real damage is not a real concern in October. We're more likely to deal with issues with it being too hot for certain types of plants, and lettuce is a perfect example of that. If you let lettuce grow in the heat of the summer, it's going to get milky, and it's going to get to where you won't want to eat it because it's really too bitter for taste. So I'm going to continue to cut this. I went ahead and grew this lettuce because I feel like we're in a cool enough part of the season where we can begin to do that. But I'm going to go ahead and cut it off really young, and leaf lettuce it for a while. And then once we get to the really cooler part of the year, if the plants are still doing well, then I can go ahead and take out entire butter crunch lettuce, and plant my seeds a little more sporadically and make sure that they have their room to spread out. This is a very heavily planted, so I mean it is just a layer of seeds. So I'm going to have a very nice, strong, thick layer of small lettuce leaves out here. And then, okay, so now my leeks will take a little longer. These leeks have been here for a while, and they're finally starting to do to all come up and do really well. And then I came over here and started peeking in on, yep, my rainbow chard. I think you guys were with me when I planted that. My rainbow chard is starting to peek out, and that happened today as well. I don't know if you noticed that, but I see little ants around. That means that I'm going to have to go in and put some more coffee grounds around. That's something you can do to help deter the ants from being in your area. So that's a big part of what, let me see over here. Cilantro, is our cilantro coming up yet? Not quite. Another thing to keep in mind in your warmer areas, cilantro does not like being hot. It's actually a winter, cool weather plant. So I'm going to head back over here and show you one last thing. As you know, most Wednesdays I come home with something from my friends that grow plants, that sell plants at the farmer's market. We happened to get the opportunity to pick up a couple of things. One, this native bay leaf. No joke, I've killed 3 or 4 different bay leaf plants. The best I can tell is they just don't do that well in 9B, in zone 9B. So it was good to know that there is a native bay leaf that grows really well down here. It can be used exactly the same way as the other traditional bay leaves. So I'm going to get this guy going in the ground, and then we'll have our own bay leaves. And then, of course, I told you we're working to get some more trees. We're working to get some trees and some fruit trees. Citrus is going to be my top priority for our area. Every house should have some kind of small orange, tangerine, mandarin, that kind of thing. Every single house should have that. They're very easy to peel. Kids love them, and they do really well down here. So this is a mandarin orange tree that we're going to get planted, and the best day to plant a tree was yesterday, and if not today, right? So as soon as we get this thing in the ground, we know that it's going to be a good 5 years before there's any production on that. But we know that for the future, there's going to be a beautiful mandarin orange tree for any family that ever lives on this property, whether it's us or anyone else. So I'm pretty excited to get that moving forward and get that in the ground and contribute to the life and the food that we have around in our community. So another great gardening day, another fantastic farmers market day in Corpus Christi, Texas, right there on the bayfront. That's what an opportunity we have to live in such a beautiful place and have a 9-month growing season. And we are just at the very, very beginning of it, and we're really seeing such beautiful stuff start to come. Radishes galore.